everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of my Halloween review series. This has been a long time coming, and I just want to introduce everybody to the new and approved Winger reviews. So before, when I would do my reviews, I would do them in my car directly after seeing a movie. And I'm still going to be doing new release reviews, especially on this channel. That's never going to change. But the way I'm going to do it is going to be more of a professional recorded video and put on YouTube for everybody to see instead of making a TikTok video out of it, which was how I used to do it. Now, this is going to be new for me, so there's going to probably be some growing pains. But man, I just hope everybody comes along for the ride and we can hit this off and make it pretty good. So I decided to start with a review series of a franchise, and I put on my Winger Reviews Facebook page, which is my former Winger Gaming page. That's been defunct for pretty much like 4 years. It was something I was into. Then I kind of fell out of it a few years ago and decided to, instead of making a new page, just turn that into the Winger Reviews page. So I put up a poll, and our franchises to choose from was Halloween, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Wishmaster. So Halloween won, I think 5 votes to 3. It beat out A Nightmare on Elm Street, which honestly is my favorite franchise of all time. So we're going to start here with Halloween. I released a Halloween release schedule of all of the movies. There are 13 movies in this franchise. So over the next 14 weeks, 2 times a week, we're going to review 2 movies. This week is only going to be 1, and at the end of the 13 movies, we're going to do a massive ranking of all 13 videos, all starting with the worst of the franchise all the way to my favorite of the franchise. So we're going to be going in order. We're not following any timelines where you got the Thorn trilogy, you got the Halloween 3, you've got the zombie verse, and then you've got the 40 years and 20 years later lines. We're going to be doing them all. I'm watching them all from now until October 6th. October 6th is the grand finale, the ranking. So just join with me here, and we're going to have some fun. So my history in regards to Halloween, it's not really a franchise that I grew up with per se. My dad was the one that got me into horror, and it was always A Nightmare on Elm Street. It was always give me the newest Freddy movie, the newest Freddy movie. It scared me to death when I was a kid, but give me the newest Freddy movie. I didn't really get into Halloween too much until I got older. I had seen the other Halloweens. I remember watching Halloween 4 on HBO back in the day, and I never really remembered much of it. Nothing really gravitated towards me when I was a kid. Should I have been watching those movies? Probably not. But the TV was my mom and my dad's babysitter at times, and is what it is. But I didn't really start getting into it until I got older. And then when I got older, I went to Tidal Wave Video in Danville, Kentucky, and I rented everything I could get my hands up, which up until that point was just Resurrection. Um, sorry. And watched all of those videos, and I liked them for the most part. There was a couple one I didn't watch at all, and one that I remember watching it, and even the first time I watched it, I absolutely hated that movie, which we'll get into that in a few weeks. But that's pretty much my history. So let's get into the story of Halloween. Now, it goes without saying that I don't believe that there is going to be any spoilers here. I mean, look, this movie is over 40 years old. If you haven't seen it by now and you're watching this video and you're like, oh my God, he's spoiled, just don't. So it starts off with this kid who murders his sister and gets locked away in a mental hospital. And about 15 years later, he breaks out of that hospital and goes back home to Haddonfield, Illinois, which is a totally fictional town, and stalks these babysitters and kills some, and then squares off against the lone surviving babysitter. And then it ends pretty much after his doctor saves the day. And that's pretty much the story. I'm not going to get into the nuts and the bolts of the story and, go on a big history lesson. The movie's out there. I'm here to review it pretty much. So right now we're just going to get into my pros. My first pro, the score. I love the score of this movie. From the ding, 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 ding to the bom, bom. I think it's a piano that they just hit keys on. And it's just, oh my, it brings the tension, which is my second positive, is the tension. This movie has so much tension once it finally gets going. Now, a mixed part of it is going to pretty much be, while the tension is great, it takes a while to get there. And once it gets there, though, it's all gravy and it's fun time. And you'll never go wrong with this movie as far as that goes. Now, if you're looking for, Art the Clown style murders and all that stuff, this ain't the movie for you. You're going to walk away massively, massively disappointed. And 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 it's not going to scare you so much, which that's actually going to be into my cons, which we'll get to here in a minute. So I'm sorry for jumping the boat. But yeah, the score followed by the tension, and those go hand in hand with each other, and it kind of makes the movie complete. And of course, the other pro is my last pro is the holy trinity of Halloween, and that's Laurie Strode, Michael Myers, Dr. Loomis. Those three converge, and the way they converge just sets this movie up. It's like if they ever decide to remake or reboot this, and they leave out one of those two characters, because obviously Michael will be there, but if they leave out a Strode or if they leave out a Loomis, is it really going to be a Michael Myers Halloween movie? I mean, I know that they're talking about rebooting this after the finish of Halloween Ends, but man, you've got to have them involved somehow. And it doesn't have to be the Jamie Lee Curtis version of Laurie Strode, but it's got to be some type of version. And that holy trinity just makes this movie work. From Laurie Strode and her shy, sheepish, good girl, to Michael Myers and his insanity, pretty much, and stalking these girls, and then Dr. Loomis was his resolve to find Michael and then contain Michael. That is what makes this movie. And I highly recommend that people check that out just for that alone. I mean, the tension is all that's great, but man, it ain't nothing without those characters. I don't think they could have made this movie work if they did something different. So that brings me on to my cons. I don't really have a really big mixed bag. And the one con is, just because I'm a horror guy, is the lack of carnage. There is hardly any blood in this movie. And the only blood you do really see is on a off-screen kill where Michael kills a mechanic, steals his overalls, and then when Loomis finds the truck with Michael's clothes in it, they pan off screen. They never really tell you if Loomis seen him or not, but they pan off screen and you just see a guy shirtless. I mean, they're not going to show the rest, but he's just covered in blood. And that's really the only carnage. So that's got to be my one of two cons. And then the other one is this a thriller or is this a horror movie? Because me and a friend of mine got into kind of not as so much a debate, but we just started talking, and he was like, "Man, I've never seen Halloween as a horror movie because there's nothing really all that scary about it." And it's a thriller to him. And I'm watching this movie last night, and I'm like, that makes sense. I still view it as a horror movie, but that kind of makes sense. I wish they would have done more to actually scare you. And they do have some really good scary spots. They have the part where Michael is in the background and he kind of comes through and he just slowly illuminates. That's a major pro. That's a major pro. That's a part of the tension, which I'm sorry I forgot the name. That's a part of the tension. And but those moments, I mean, they're not real. There's not a lot of them. A lot of it is Michael just standing there staring at Laurie and Annie and Linda. And that's it. And for me, that's not all that scary. Doesn't mean it's bad, but to me, it's not all that scary. It's more like, oh no, what's he going to do? Man, what's he going to do? Is he going to do something crazy? And so I can kind of get with that. This, to me, and there's other sequels that are definitely on the horror side. Um, I mean, the next one we're going to be reviewing next week, absolutely. But yeah, that's a really good point that was made, and I just want to shout him out for that because I didn't really think about that until I started to watch the movie. Then I was just like, I'll be darned, I think he might be right onto something here. So there's that. Now there is some production goofs that I've noticed. One is if you pay attention when Michael takes the car from the nurse and Dr. Loomis, is there's a wrench right in his hand. Sorry, I got some ink on me, but there's a wrench right in his hand, and you see the wrench, and then you see his hand go back, and then boom, smacks it. Um, Obviously, this movie's from 1978. There's not a lot that they could have done with CGI or anything to remove that wrench, but it's just something you notice. Something else you also notice is after Michael breaks that window, the next day when he's driving around Haddonfield, it's the same vehicle. It's got the same decal, but the window is no longer broken. That's something I noticed. Holy screw up, Batman. What happened? This video stopped and it kind of went to something different. My lapel mic looks a little different. I don't know. Anyway, so what happened was I went back to watch the video after I shot everything, and right about here, my lapel mic, my other lapel mic, had died, and I didn't know because there's a little green button, green light right there that you can see, and I didn't even notice it going out when I was recording the other one. I guess I was just that into it. So give me 1 second here. We're gonna pick this up. This is my first one, man, and it feels like my first one. So got to redo it again. So that's okay. That's okay. Hey, we're allowed to make mistakes. And speaking of mistakes, so to get back into the review. So yeah, the wrench on the hand, big goof up. And Michael's car window fixing itself, big goof up. So what I noticed the next time was when I watched this movie, because I've seen this movie I wouldn't say hundreds of times. That might be a little exaggerating. I've seen this movie a lot. And one thing I noticed this time is there comes a point where Michael starts to stalk Annie and Linda, right? And not so much Linda yet, but Annie. He's messing with her in the car and everything, and she's getting locked in the washroom, and you see all this, right? So they kept cutting back and forth from that to Loomis and Sheriff Brackett outside the Myers home, and they're waiting for Michael to come home so they can capture him, put him back in the mental hospital, and everybody lives happily-ish ever after outside of the mechanic that Michael killed earlier in the day. But they make a point, and I went back and rewound this a lot, and they make a point to where Loomis will be talking with Brackett, and they're kind of looking everywhere. They're looking over here, and then they're looking over there, and then they're looking over there again. And they cut back and forth about maybe 3 times. One time, Loomis is messing with the kids. And this is all going on while Michael is stalking Annie. So I think that this is a goof up because they do all this, and then all of a sudden, Loomis looks over here somewhere in a direction he's looked like multiple times already. And he looks and he sees the station wagon with the symbol on the door. So it's not like it wasn't there, you didn't notice it. And he's like, "Oh my God, he's here. He's already been here. That's the car." And it's like, really? I mean, and me, it doesn't break the movie for me, but it makes this ultra smart individual that knows Michael inside and out. It makes him look extremely dumb. And it don't break, like I've said it. I think I've said it 2 or 3 times now, but or that might have been the old video that I had to cut up. But it makes him look dumb, but it doesn't break the movie. it doesn't take away. It's not. I'm not going to like knock a star down, like take a half a star off just because of this. But I noticed it, and now every time I watch this movie, I'm going to notice it even more. Will it bring my enjoyment of it down? Probably not, but it might just a tad, just a tad. So that's it on the production, Goose. There's a lot more, like John Carpenter's cigarette smoke, coming in on the part where Annie goes looks behind the bush, where Michael was there and went back in. But I'm going to go ahead and before we give the verdict of this video, which is my rating, I'm going to do something for every horror movie called My Favorite Kill. So my favorite kill here is the Bob kill. The infamous kill where Michael surprises old boy, grabs him by the throat, pushes him up ever so slightly, and then stabs him and pins him to the wall. That's my favorite kill. And it's not so much the kill, because it's like the rest of the movie. You don't see a lot of blood. You don't see any blood. You don't see any of the carnage. You just see the knife kind of sticking out of him. But then you see Michael do this. It's almost like he's mesmerized by what he's seen. Like he couldn't believe he did it. So that is one of my favorite kills in this, actually in the whole franchise, really. There's a lot more. I'm starting to believe this is snake bit from the beginning, and describing the kill, knocked my lapel mic off. Who said YouTubing would be easy? But yeah, so that's my favorite kill. Time for the verdict. The verdict. What am I ranking this as? I have an entire star rating that I want to release on YouTube, not YouTube, but Facebook, maybe TikTok, and that way everybody, when I rank them, they know. So I am going to rank this one 0.5 star. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to rank this 5 stars. Welcome to the Nightmare, a bona fide classic exceptional horror that earns a permanent spot on your shelf. So if you don't have this on your shelf, you need to go buy it, put it on your shelf. You got to own it. You gotta own it. It's one of the best Halloween movies there is. It's a great scary movie. If you don't want to call it a horror movie, fine. But it's a great scary movie, because the first time you watch it, especially when you're younger, it's going to scare you. So keep that in mind. It's a good on-ramp horror movie. There's not a lot of blood. There's not a lot of body parts or all that stuff. You can introduce this to somebody younger and start onboarding them in the horror. And this is the movie to do it with. So, 5 stars. Welcome to the Nightmare. This is the first video in the Halloween review series. We got so much more to go through. We got next Tuesday, Halloween 2. Oh, God, I can't wait to review that one, because that is a very good movie. One of the better sequels. So we'll see you then. So remember, this has been Winger Reviews. Movies, nightmares, no mercy. See you then.